Hello, I am Bishop Ricky Holmes, and welcome to our broadcast. Now, you don't have to believe in God to acknowledge that the world in which we live is a function of design. An incredible, all-inspiring, jaw-dropping, and infinitely complex design. To deny that there is design behind creation, one would have to be either dishonest or completely and inconceivably uninformed. Believing that this world in which we live is not the product of design is like believing that a high-quality wristwatch with all of its intricate mechanical parts working flawlessly in unison is merely the product of chance. Now, not only is the cosmological argument for the existence of God a strong argument, the argument of intelligent design is even stronger. So strong, in fact, that it has led Robert Jastrow, an admitted agnostic, to make this statement. For the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries. Our world in which we live was divinely designed to sustain human life. Now, notice I said divinely designed. I said this because the constants necessary to sustain human life on earth are so narrow and abundant that life on earth can only be credited to a supernatural, all-powerful designer having infinite intelligence. For example, you and I are held to this earth by something called gravity. Now, gravity is that force that pulls all things to the center of the earth and toward other objects having mass. Now, if the gravitational force that secures us to this planet were altered by as little as 0.000000000000000000000001%, our sun would not exist. And therefore, neither would we. Now, did you hear that minuscule value? It was 0.00, well, you get the idea. Now, how do we account for such precision? Science has already concluded that the universe began with a Big Bang explosion. Well, if the force of that explosion had caused the universe to expand at a rate 1/1,000,000th more slowly than it did, expansion would have stopped and the universe would have collapsed on itself before any stars had formed. If it had expanded faster, then no galaxies would have formed. Any of the laws of physics can be described as a function of the velocity of light. Which is 186,000 miles per second. Even a slight variation in the speed of light would alter the other critical constants in the universe and preclude the possibility of life on Earth. If water vapor levels in the atmosphere were greater than they are now, a runaway greenhouse effect would cause temperatures to rise too high for human life. And if they were less, then an insufficient greenhouse effect would cause the earth to be too cold to support human life. If Jupiter were not in its current orbit, the Earth would be bombarded by space material. Jupiter's gravitational field acts as a cosmic vacuum cleaner, attracting asteroids and comets that might otherwise strike the Earth. If the thickness of the Earth's crust were greater, then too much oxygen would be transferred to the Earth's crust to support life. If it were thinner, then volcanic and tectonic activity would make life on Earth impossible. If the rotation of the Earth took longer than 24 hours, then temperature differences would be too great between night and day to sustain human life. If the rotation period were shorter, then atmospheric wind velocities would be too great to support life on Earth. The 23-degree axial tilt of the Earth is just right. If the tilt were altered ever so slightly, then surface temperatures would be too extreme on Earth. If the atmospheric discharge rate, also known as the lightning rate, were greater than it presently is, there would be too much fire destruction. And if it were less, there would be too little nitrogen in the soil, whereby affecting our food supply. If there were more seismic activity than at present, then much more life would be lost on Earth. But if there was less seismic activity, the nutrients on the ocean floors and in the river runoff would not be cycled back to the continents through tectonic uplift, making life on Earth impossible. So yes, even earthquakes are necessary to sustain life as we know it. Now, how are we to account for this precise balance of constants in our world? Are we to just simply conclude that all of this is a matter of happen chance, coincidence, luck, or serendipity? I don't think so. And neither does the renowned astrophysicist Hugh Ross. Ross has calculated the probability that these and other constants, which is 122 in all, would exist today on any planet by chance, in other words, without divine design, is 1 chance in 10 to the 138th power. Now that's 10 followed by 138 zeros. 10 with an exponent of 70, that's 10 followed by 70 zeros, is the number of atoms in the universe. This means that the chances of all of these constants coming together by chance to sustain life on Earth is greater than the number of atoms in the universe. Mathematicians tell us that any value greater than 10 times or 1 times 10 to the 50th power is mathematically impossible. There is therefore zero chance, and I emphasize zero chance, that any planet in the universe would have the life-supporting conditions we have unless there is an intelligent designer behind it all. Nobel laureate Arno Penzias, co-discoverer of the radiation afterglow, he put it this way: astronomy leads us to a unique event, a universe which was created out of nothing and delicately balanced to provide exactly the conditions required to support life. In the absence of an absurdly improbable accident, the observations of modern science seem to suggest an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan. You know, many atheists are honest enough to admit that there is design behind the universe, although they are not yet ready to acknowledge that it is the mind of God behind creation. Nevertheless, they do acknowledge that it is a mind of some sort. Case in point, astronomer and atheist Fred Hoyle. After considering the complexity of life, a topic that we'll look at in our next study, Hoyle concluded, a common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics, as well as chemistry and biology, and that there are no blind forces worth speaking about in nature. Ladies and gentlemen, science agrees that there is design behind the universe. Yet some atheists say there is not. You be the judge. But if there is design behind the universe, then I submit to you, there must be a designer.
So, the process of testing claims, the world is flat, the world is round, is what we call science. Now, if you have a claim that can't be tested, that's what we call pseudoscience. The difference between pseudoscience and regular science is whether or not you can test it.